Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Italian Football Podcast, the official podcast of Football Italia. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined as always by Nima Tavalli. On today's show, we will review the midweek Champions League action. Inter got back on track after two defeats in a row by comfortably beating Ajax 2-0 thanks to two Marcus Thuram headers. Juventus played out a truly insane 4-4 thriller in the game of the week against Borussia Dortmund with two injury time goals from Dusan Vlahovic and Lloyd Kelly saving Juve a point. And Atalanta, though, were the negative of the week as they were absolutely thrashed 4-0 by champions PSG. We'll also preview Serie Matchday 4, which is coming up with Lazio taking on Roma in the Rome Derby on Sunday. Okay, let's get into today's show. So let's start off with the Wednesday evening matches, and let's start off with Inter, who win 2-0 at Ajax. The response you wanted from Inter, Nima, after losing two games in a row to especially losing to your bitter rivals, Juventus. And it was a reasonably comfortable win for Inter. Takes the pressure off Christian Chivu. But really the biggest story was the performance of Marcus Thuram, who scores twice, two bullet headers from corners. There's an image that's going round of him in the air, hanging in the air like Cristiano Ronaldo against Sampdoria or Victor Osimhen during his Napoli days. I mean, this guy is becoming an absolute beast now in the air as well, isn't he, Nima?
He keeps improving and developing his game, and he looks fresher, lighter on his feet. He looks rested. He looks fit, and he's becoming even more important as an aerial threat as well. More well-rounded and complete. This game. I've kind of there's a couple of there's quite a few talking points I want to talk about, both positive and negative. Let's start with the positive stuff. And
start with Thuram.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Let's start with the positive stuff, and that is Marcus Thuram. Marcus Thuram, now that Lautaro's got this minor injury and looks a bit like off it, it's so important for Inter to have someone like Marcus Thuram that is a handful, he's strong in the air, aerial threat, he's dribbler, he's fast, he's one of the few at Inter who is a dribbler, who is fast, who can beat his man. He's great at holding, his hold-up game is very good. His finishing has improved, even though I think there's still quite a margin of improvement, margini di miglioramento, as they say in Italy. He's becoming more and more important for Inter, and I have to say his attitude as well. Like I'm starting to think maybe he is right, and I think people misunderstood what happened on Saturday rather against Juve when he was laughing and smiling with his brother. And he didn't celebrate the goal. He didn't celebrate these goals either, but he can't say that he wasn't switched on and turned on. I think he's maybe not taking things as hard and difficult in life in general. I get the sense that it's a much more relaxed and mature Marcus Thuram, and he needs to kind of just, be a little bit like that in terms of to be happy. Because the attitude, the atteggiamento, you can't complain about that. He was very switched on. All of Inter were very concentrated. Very, very, very concentrated, and that is kind of, I think that was the part which I feel he embodied the most. He was very cool, he was very concentrated, very in control of his emotions. He got a yellow card for accidentally elbowing or hitting what's his name, Ajax player in the face whose name eludes me, but he didn't get, he got a penalty taken away from him for pulling the shirt. No, not him nor the rest of Inter got destabilized, annoyed by that. There was no, throwing up the air and throwing hands up in the air and arguing, and there was none of that. They were concentrated. They were very cool, concentrated, professional, and I like that. I like to see when Inter are focused on the job, focused on what they have to do. And I think nobody embodied that better than Marcus Thuram yesterday.
Let me ask you this then, Nima. Lautaro was missing the game. He possibly for a little precaution, little injury. Obviously, he played really badly against Juventus. Maybe he was carrying something. Maybe it was just tiredness from the international games, coming back from South America late. Anyway, he didn't play against Ajax. Pio Esposito played alongside Thuram, which we'll talk about Pio in a little bit. But Thuram now, is he Inter's most irreplaceable player? And is Thuram now more important than Lautaro Martinez in this Inter team?
It's an interesting question because the plan was all along to move to a 3-4-2-1, and with Thuram and Lautaro kind of behind the lone striker, or they were going to be very fluid in that system. Now that's gone out the window, but they kind of still kind of want to play like that. With a midfielder or a Dumfries pushing up to have the three-man attack. I think it would be very reductive and very reactionary to say that Lautaro's no longer the most important player, or Lautaro's no longer the focal point of this Inter, not just by virtue of him being captain, but I think that is something to look out for. That is something to look at. That is one of the things that I'll be looking at is, okay, what Inter do we see? What kind of Inter is this? Is this an Inter that is more reliant on a different way of playing? And I think Pio Esposito is a big reason for that, because now he offers Inter a weapon, a solution that Inter did not have in their toolbox. And we saw that against Ajax as well. But I think we have to wait and see that. I don't think he's the most irreplaceable player. I still think that in order for Inter to take Bastoni and Calhanoglu, by virtue of their roles in this Inter side, are more important in the way that Inter attack, in the way that Inter defend, the way that Inter have a balance, and so on, from a structural point of view. But whether or not, if Lautaro is as indispensable to Inter as he was before, that remains to be seen. I think that is something we'll have to it's an interesting talking point. It's something to look at.
Yeah, one thing I think
it's too soon to say anything.
One thing I would say to answer that question is I think that Thuram definitely has irreplaceable qualities, attributes in his game that when he isn't on the field, Inter really are lacking, and that can be a problem. And it was. And
those are, as you have said, and we have both said,
those were what you just said before. Those are
exactly
pace. Inter lack pace in their team. Inter lack depth in attack. Or
beating the man, dribble and beat the man.
Yeah, he lacks. Well, now I wouldn't say they lack height, because I think Pio Esposito is a tall guy, but crosses into the box. Lautaro's not Thuram. So you take Thuram out of that team and you have Lautaro with someone else. Yeah, I think that he brings something that Lautaro doesn't bring. So I think he's more important than Lautaro in the sense that you take Thuram out of the team, who else brings those to the team? You take Thuram out of the team, who else brings those qualities to the team? So I think in that sense, maybe he is more important than Lautaro.
I don't know. I think it's too, the traits he has. I think the dribbling, the pace, all of that combined are traits that Inter just don't have. They don't have that when he's not on the pitch. It makes them even more predictable. So it's not just a Lautaro thing; it's an Inter-structure thing, which again goes back to Beppe. Address these issues in the summer, and Luis Enrique is, I don't know what the point of him was now. Again, like I said, after they decided not to play a 3-4-2-1 and they sold Zalewski, what's the point of Luis Enrique? He doesn't get a minute. He's behind Darmian in the pecking order, for crying out loud. I mean, it's just right now, and it's like it's. I
Let's
don't
talk
get it.
about Pio Esposito.
Yeah,
Who
I want to
started
talk about
last
Pio
season.
Esposito because I think
You were
what we
impressed by him.
saw. Sorry.
You were impressed by him against Ajax.
I was blown away by him. I wasn't impressed by him. I did not. I was looking forward to seeing something interesting from him, seeing if Inter are able to integrate him into the way they play by getting the best out of him. And not only did I see Inter do that, I saw him use a big guy who wins when he's back with a back against opponent's goal, wins every single time, creates space for himself without conceding free kicks. Like, that's the most important thing. He's not just big, he's also very mature in the sense that he doesn't give away he doesn't commit offensive fouls. He holds off players, they bounce off him, he creates space for himself, he turns around, and then he creates goal-scoring chances twice. Thuram, which Thuram missed by a whisker, and what led up to the second goal, where Calhanoglu's shot was blocked to the corner, and then Calhanoglu took the corner, and Thuram scored the second. This is something Inter have not had. Inter have not had a striker like that. But then when you look at his other aspects of his game, if you look at how constantly involved he was, how he wanted the ball, he doesn't shy away. And the fact that he was the player that covered the most pitch, he ran the most out of all, more than Calhanoglu, more than any other Inter player. He ran 11.5 kilometers, which is, again, a big guy, a striker of his physique, of his, his physical stature, to run that much and be that dynamic is, again, it's just everything, I spoke about last season at Spezia, and the incredible development he had there, because in the middle of the season, you have to remember, if you look at how he looked when the season started, he weighed 12 kilos less. And throughout the season, he put on 12 kilograms, but he didn't lose a single inch of pace. If anything, he managed to still be as dynamic, but he just became more powerful and quicker, which is just unique. And I was just so impressed.
How good can Pio Esposito become?
I think I think I've always said he's a special talent. But I think what we saw yesterday, if he can be injury-free, if he can continue to develop like this, we're talking about the starter for Italy over the next decade. We're talking about someone who, Luca Toni said a long time ago that he reminds him of him. And I think to a certain degree, we could. I think more than Luca Toni, I think Vieri for me. For me, he's more like Vieri than Luca Toni.
Okay, I think he's a bit cleaner technically than both of those players in terms of on the eye.
Yeah, he is.
Those players were better technically than actually they were given credit for. They were sometimes seen as a bit awkward on the ball, but actually they were actually both really good technically.
No, but when people make the comparison of Scamacca to Zlatan, that's exactly what they take on. Make hinge discussion about that. Big guy, but technically brilliant, right? I don't think I've seen enough technically from Esposito from Francesco Pio Esposito to make that connection to Zlatan Ibrahimovic, because Zlatan Ibrahimovic was a ballerina with his feet even at the age of 17, 18, 19, right? Pio Esposito is not quite. I've not seen anything to suggest that he is, but he is good technically. So that's why I'm saying, for me, he's more of a Vieri and Luca Toni than he is anything else. But above what he is, more than any of those players, I think, is his dynamism. That he combines his physique, his strength, his dynamism with movement. He's constantly on the move. And it doesn't harm him. It helps Inter in the press as well, because now they have a big striker who can also press, which is a very rare commodity.
So it gives Inter both ways. He can come deep and he can go in behind.
Exactly. And that's something that Inter have not had. And that's important if you're going to play with a high defensive line. That's really important, which leads me to the third positive of the night, and that was Stefan De Vrij. When De Vrij plays with Bastoni and Akanji, yesterday, what Inter looked much more balanced in both phases of play, despite playing with this high defensive line. De Vrij is not the quickest player in the world. He's quicker than Acerbi, but above all, his football IQ is way higher. His passing is way higher. His read of the game is way higher in terms of where he is on the pitch and where his teammates are on the pitch, and when constructing. This is again, because Akanji has not had the greatest of starts since moving to Inter, despite being Premier League proven. But
you're going to say that every single episode.
Because it's the Premier League proven thing is the dumbest thing that has ever been said by anyone ever, and it's just I love that. But he's not had a good start since he came to Inter. It
was first said by Martin Keown in 2006 about Francesco Totti when he was linked to the Premier League, and Martin Keown said that he's not Premier League proven.
I rest my case.
Just on that note, just before you carry on, Nima, I just want to say that this is what we're recording now is free on YouTube.
And on iTunes and all that other stuff.
And on iTunes and everywhere. We're now going to come to an end to the free part of the show. So if you want to continue listening to the rest of the show, then go to patreon.com/TIFP and you can become a subscriber for just $3.99 a month, and you'll get all of our content that we do throughout the week, which includes our Monday show, our Q&A, which we do weekly, which we answer our questions from all of our patrons, and also our midweek review show, which we do after every Champions League, and if it's a Serie A midweek calendar, we do a Thursday show on that as well. So if you want to listen to the rest of this show, we'll carry on talking about Inter, and then we'll talk about the PSG versus Atalanta, and we'll talk about that crazy 4-4 between Juventus and Borussia Dortmund, and we'll preview the weekend Serie action, including the Rome derby. Then go to patreon.com/TIFP.
Or
Nima,
sign up on YouTube memberships as well. You can sign up there as well.
Yeah. De Vrij, you were saying he's Akanji's not Premier League proven.
No, he is
Premier League proven.
but he continues to make these defensive howlers against Juventus. He made lots of mistakes that were costly. Against Ajax, he made a couple. Even going forward, we're talking about someone when he's unattacked with time on the ball, trying to cross the ball. He doesn't even get it higher than a half a yard up the air, and doesn't even go past the first man, who's 20 meters away. I mean, it was technical mistakes of that you don't expect of a player with that quality and that reputation.
Can I just come in on Akanji? I think he's a little bit lazy. I think the reason he's lazy is because at Manchester City, for the number of years he's been there, he's used to playing for a team with Pep Guardiola that dominate possession and territory, and he virtually never has to defend his box or even his own third. It's always you defend with a high line and you're defending that space in behind you, and there's certain bits of defending you have to do when you're playing that kind of game. Whereas, when you're in most other teams, you're going to have to defend your own third. You're going to have to defend your box. You're going to have to defend crosses. You're going to have to move into the channels. You're going to have to do things that you don't do when you're defending for Pep Guardiola and your team has 70 to 80% possession all the time. And you only have a few moments every game where you have to defend counterattacks and transitions. And so he's probably out of practice. Okay, maybe for Switzerland, he would defend more like that. But it's week in, week out. It's so I think that probably, it's going to take a little bit of time.
That could very well be it. But my issue is more the unforced errors. I'm talking about, set pieces. I'm talking about in the build-up phase, giving away these crazy, stupid, brain-dead passes down the center of the pitch, which almost caused a goal. Like, the kind of mistakes you don't make when you're a player. Like, do you know what I mean? Like that, those kinds of mistakes that you don't expect from a player of 30 plus who's played for Manchester United, won a treble, and so on and so forth. But I'm sure, I'm willing. I'm not saying anything definitive on him. I'm just stating the fact. I still think we should, we shouldn't say anything definitive. We shouldn't go Martin Keown on Totti in 06. but we should instead give him some time to adapt to the team. It's a new team, a new environment. He arrived on deadline day, lest we forget. It takes time to adapt. And then, of course, it was the international break. So, give him, we should probably give him some time before we write him off. But I'm just stating the fact that it's not been a good start for him. But regardless, with Stefan de Vrij there, because of how cool, calm, collected, composed, his vision, his read of the game, his positioning, the way that he leads the defense, that gives Inter, that made Inter more balanced in both phases as a result of that, despite playing with a higher defensive line. And finally, it's Jan Sommer made a very important save. I think with that 1v1, if that goes in, it's a different game. But he made a very important save, and I think that's important to create some calm around Inter, given the discussion that's been over the last few weeks, over the last week or so, about Jan Sommer and how he's passed his best. I don't think the discussion is over, because I think the qualitative decline is real, and I'm not happy with how Kivo handled that. I thought it was unnecessary to even entertain that debate. It's not going to go away. But if next time he makes a mistake, we're back there again, and he's going to make more mistakes because he is past his best. But it is, there are positives there. It was a result where Inter were able to, they kept a clean sheet. They won without much fuss, professional performance. Pio Esposito played 90 minutes, had a great debut. And I suppose the final positive point, which I think is also kind of a negative point, in the sense that the synonym to that, or what that means, is also a negative, and that is that Inter are essentially, the positive is set pieces going forward. Inter are lethal. Still, they're lethal. Hakan Calhanoglu's set pieces were outstanding again. Hakan Calhanoglu was really good again in this game. He's starting to understand that role much better. He's also part of that central line together with De Vrij that gives Inter the balance, even though they play with a high defensive line. He still looks a little bit awkward at times, but that's kind of to be expected. But yeah, he was really good. The set pieces are a really threat going forward, but equally, Inter just can't seem to create from open play. They can't seem to score from open play, and that is a problem. I think the key to that problem is spelled Francesco Pio Esposito, because he gives Inter something they don't have, and that is a monster in the opposition's box who can win the ball, hold the ball, create space, and create space for himself and others to be able to break down the opposition. Inter didn't have that. Thuram could do that to a certain extent, but not as good as Pio Esposito. Pio Esposito's hold-up play, physique, strength is something that Inter have not had since Lukaku was there. In his first, since Lukaku was there, pretty much, and that's going to be very good for Inter moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. And echo what you said about the corners. New manager Inzaghi to Kivu, and Inter remain absolute monsters from corners. That's three corners goals scored in 2 games, and they're just Calhanoglu is the best corner taker in the world. There's no not even a debate on that. Let's move on to Atalanta. Miserable even for them. They got absolutely battered. This was the game that I watched. I watched the PSG versus Atalanta game, and it was they lost 4-0. It could have been, it would have been double if it wasn't for Carnesecchi. Carnesecchi did make an error on the Nuno Mendes goal, which he should have saved, but he made at least 3 or 4 miracle saves in this game. In the first 10 minutes alone, he made 3 stops. 2 of them were just out of this world. So it wasn't for Carnesecchi, this would have been 8 or 9. It was that. I mean, the stats tell it all. 4 goals to 0, 10 big chances to PSG, 0 to Atalanta, 67% possession to PSG, XG of 3.45 to 0.5. It was just, the golfing class was massive. Even with PSG missing Dembele and Doué, they just absolutely destroyed them. I don't want to be too hard on Atalanta because I think that PSG showed in this game that they're the team to beat again in the Champions League this season. And I think that PSG will do this to most teams, including better teams than Atalanta. We saw what they did to Inter in the final, 5-0. And I think that they're going to do this to a lot of teams in the Champions League. So I don't want to be too hard on Atalanta. I mean, this PSG team, tactically, collectively, what Luis Enrique's done is unbelievable. The midfield is the best in Europe. Vitinha is a dream. Nuno Mendes is the best left back in Europe. No doubt about that now. And in Kvaratskhelia, who, of course, we know so well, he was just unbelievable in this game. I mean, what a goal. But some of the dribbles, the back heels he kept doing, and he's just an artist. And we just don't have, we complain a lot, don't we, about that we just don't have these kind of players in football. Just a genius. Like, first of all, before we get to that, I want to just rave about Kvaratskhelia and what a player he is. And sorely missed in Serie A just from the artistic level.
No, he's, his name in Megrelian, which is the dialect they speak in Georgia, means shiny, bright, and he is a shining and a bright diamond. His football he's a pure joy to watch. He's absolutely just watching him bent forward like that with the ball at his feet, and you know that something's going to happen. You know that feeling of players when they get the ball, the best players in the world, when they get the ball and they're attacking, you're like, oh, something's going to happen. That excitement that something special is going to happen now. You get that every time Kvaratskhelia gets the ball at his feet. And he's attacking. He's got his body bent forward like that, and he can go either way. He's got he can shift his weight really easily. He's technically absolutely brilliant. He's a joy to watch. He's an absolute joy to watch. And again against Atalanta, I mean, he did that a couple of times in the Serie A, ripped them 3 new ones, and he did that all game. And to be fair, it's also kind of how Atalanta play. When you play man-man with a high press and high line like that against someone like Kvaratskhelia's quality, unless you have world-class markers, you're gonna fall. You're gonna be exposed. Like it's that simple.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be too hard on Atalanta, but we saw things that weren't good also from Atalanta. Defensively, they were awful, which is something you don't associate with Ivan Juric. If you watch, just watch the first 10 minutes alone and see how awful Atalanta defended in those first 10 minutes. And that kind of sums up their defending in the game. Like, the defensive line wasn't together. There was a one-on-one, which Karnaseki saved from Barcola, where like everybody, like the left back was 10 yards ahead of the centre back. One centre back was 10 yards ahead of the other centre back. The right back was, I don't know where he was. Like, it was like there was no defensive line, that they were making mistakes, like Daniel Maldini, who like was horrendous in this game.
Juric went after him post game.
The way he gave the ball away for that first goal was unforgivable in your own third, and that just set the tone. They were cut open time and again. Musa, he was awful, by the way. Musa for the penalty. What the hell was that? Like, did you see it? Like, they missed it. Karnaseki saved it. It was a terrible penalty. It was like a pass back from Barcola. But, like, it wasn't even...
those penalties. Bring back Brexit penalties. Put your laces through it, son. Top corner. None of this nonsense passing into the ball. None of that woke nonsense.
Give us
Put
back
the
our
bloody
penalties.
ball into the top corner. Put your laces through it.
Give us back our penalties.
Give us back our penalties. Yes. Give us back our penalties. No, but seriously, like, I drive me crazy, this hop skip bollocks. Like, stop it. Put your laces through it. Top corner, score. Just bloody hell. It's you got a 80% chance of scoring. You don't need to be cute about it. Do you know what I mean?
That's brilliant. I'm making a note on that. That needs to go on. That needs to go on socials.
Yeah, Brexit penalties for the win. I'm sorry, Brexit penalties are the way forward. I'm sorry. I hate this. It drives me insane. Jorginho, I wanted to punch him every time he did that. Even when he scored, it drives me insane. Italy didn't get to the World Cup because of these stupid penalties, because they were good in the qualifiers, if you remember.
Right, it almost cost us the Euro final as well with this.
So stop it. Stop this nonsense. This woke nonsense. Yeah. Now that I've channeled Sean Dyke, we can move we can move on.
Yeah, but I mean, also Bellanova's short back pass for the fourth goal right at the end. I think he was exhausted, to be honest. Actually, Bellanova was one of the few Atalanta players who kind of came out of this game with any credit until then. So that was disappointing, the defending. The passing was disappointing. And this is always going to be one of my worries with Juric, because it's not a worry under Gasperini. Like, they just couldn't pass the ball. They couldn't get up the pitch. The kind of automatisms that you saw with Gasperini, we really didn't see. Of course, PSG make it very difficult because they're pressing and the way they hunt the ball, and they're just in such an intense team that they put you under pressure when you got the possession. So yeah, there was that. And also, I'm not sure about Juric's starting 11. I don't know what he was trying to do in attack by playing kind of like two false nines of Maldini and De Ketelaere. They just couldn't get up the pitch when they had the ball. So yeah, I'm not sure about that. But at the end of the day, look, this PSG team is special. I'm prepared to just give Atalanta and Juric the benefit of the doubt on this game, because they were playing an amazing team. And yes, everybody's going on about that PSG were missing their key players. Well, Atalanta were missing Ederson, Lookman, and Scamacca. So they're missing their two best players plus Scamacca, who's an important player as well. And Scalvini was on the bench as well. So
yeah, but this is not the game Atalanta's supposed to win. And also PSG are a world-class team. They're reigning European champions. They are definitely going to be in the race to win the Champions League again. They have the quality. Their team isn't that old. It's actually pretty young. You know, they played the best club team in the world, you could arguably say. So there's always going to be a gulf in quality. It was a small risk. I think when we previewed this game, I said there's a risk if you know there's a chance for an upset, but a small chance, and that was quickly dispelled because PSG are qualitatively at least 2 times better than Atalanta, and we should be honest about that. But there were certain things I didn't like. Juric has not had a great start. Atalanta have not made life easy for him. The whole Lookman shit show that I do think we should now actually. One of our patrons tweeted this out. Alessandro Raffa, he said that, you know, everyone in the Calcio, everyone in Italian football took a shit on Inter for the Lookman situation, but I think the time is now right to maybe say that Atalanta got it wrong. Forcing a player to keep, forcing Lookman to stay was stupid. It was really stupid.
Well, we said that
because it sidetracked everything completely. He's not going to play that. He refuses to play. He's furious, and they're now in a situation which they could have resolved by selling him and not be cute about it and say stuff like, "Well, we promised to sell you to a team outside."
I thought for the second time in a second week in a row, you were going to say the C word again. Cute.
No.
Igor Tudor is a cunning man.
Cunning, yeah.
Atalanta decided to be cute about it.
Well, I think they were a little bit of the C word as well, but to their own. Whereas with Tudor, it's to his credit. Atalanta did it to their own detriment, because it would have been better to just sell him,
exactly
rather than have this drag on
Monday. Yeah.
It's done.
They needed him in this game. You can't go to PSG without your big players if you're a small team like Atalanta.
No.
But Lookman is available. Ederson and Scamacca are injured. Lookman is available, and you know, so it's not good. And also in this game, we don't know how bad it is because we're recording this first thing on Thursday morning. But De Ketelaere and Giorgio Scalvini picked up injuries in the game as well, and they're probably not going to play at the weekend, which might not affect them as much. They're playing Torino, but it might do. But you know, let's see how long they're out for, because if they're out for a period of time now as well, then yeah, like you said,
it's not been easy for
Juric.
Not been easy for Juric. No, it really hasn't. And he was very unhappy with Daniel Maldini after the game. There was some comments there that he wasn't doing his job, and he was making mistakes, and it was unacceptable and all that. And you can't blame him for that. Again, I see people say that he said he wanted Maldini to play as a number 9. I actually think I get why he wants Maldini to play as a number 9. I think I get it. I just never rated Daniel Maldini that much, but I do kind of see him more. I can see why he wants to play him centrally, just like Kristovic. I think his style of game suits that more in this Atalanta system. Than I don't think he's good enough to be one of the 2 behind the 1 in this Atalanta system. I think if he's going to play, he has to play as a lone striker. But we'll see. I just don't rate the player generally, so.
Yeah, I don't know. But I mean,
we don't like raccomandati.
Yeah, but listen, I watched him in this game, and he was making such basic mistakes, like no pressure on the ball. It's different when you've got PSG players all swarming around you, pressing you. There were occasions in this game where he had completely, without any pressure on him at all, he was making unforced errors, just giving it away, and that's just then you start to wonder, well, that's worrying. Anyway, listen, Atalanta have got a good draw. That's the good thing. They need to win their next 2 games. They've got Club Brugge and Slavia Prague at home in their next 2 games. They have to win both of those. They do their business and win those 2 games, which they should do, even with the issues they've got right now. They'll be on 6 points, and then they're in a really great position to qualify. So no need to panic. I'm not going to go hard on them yet.
No.
But if they start slipping up in these games, if they slip up against Torino at the weekend and those kind of games, then we can start asking questions. Let's move on to Juventus now. For those of you who haven't listened to it already, I did a post-match reaction straight after the game on Tuesday evening. So you can get that on Patreon and on YouTube as well. So I don't want to repeat what I talked about in that pod. What we'll do is we'll discuss a few kind of bigger, wider issues here. Obviously, insane game, 4-4, insane second half. I want to talk about, first of all, about Kenan Yildiz, because he scored an absolutely magical goal here from an ala Del Piero from out on the left, cutting inside, curling it into the top corner, far top corner. Magical goal. And that goal was scored almost exactly 30 years to the day that Alessandro Del Piero scored an almost identical goal against Borussia Dortmund. The comparisons are uncanny. Del Piero was 20 when he scored that goal in September the 13th, 1995. Kenan Yildiz was 20 when he scored that goal on September the 16th, 2025. They both scored against the same opponent, Borussia Dortmund. And this is by a player, Kenan Yildiz, who obviously idolizes Del Piero and celebrates like him, and has been called the new Del Piero already. So it's pretty amazing, like, that this actually happened like this. So the question is now, people are asking the question, can Kenan Yildiz become as good as Alessandro Del Piero? I think in terms of ability and potential, yes, he has the ability and potential to be as good as Del Piero. Will he have a successful career as Del Piero? For Juventus, I just don't see how that is possible. Mainly for circumstantial reasons, because back then Juventus were the best team in Europe. Serie A was the best league in Europe, and it was possible back then for Del Piero to spend his entire career playing for Juventus and playing for Juventus on the biggest stages in the Champions League. That isn't going to be possible for Kenan Yildiz. As much as he loves Juventus, Kenan Yildiz, unfortunately, is going to leave Juventus at some point. We hope he stays at Juventus for as long as possible, but whether it's in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years max, Yildiz is going to leave Juventus, so he's not going to be able to do what Del Piero did in terms of playing for 18 or 19 years, however many it is, be the record goal scorer, be the most loved player. It's just not going to happen. He's going to, and also, in terms of circumstance, Del Piero played for Italy. And okay, Del Piero didn't have the most amazing Italy career, but be it playing for Italy allowed him to play in the Euros, at the World Cup, go to the latter stages, win the World Cup, be decisive at key moments in these games. Playing for Turkey, that's not going to happen for Kenan Yildiz. So unless Yildiz goes to one of the giant European teams like a Real Madrid, Barcelona, or one of the big Premier League teams, and then does, produces for them, I don't see Yildiz becoming as good as Del Piero, if that makes sense. But I think in terms of potential and ability, this guy's a special, special talent, and he has everything to become a superstar and become one of the best players in the world.
Without a doubt, he is one of the best in his age category in the world. There's no doubt about that. And again, we both predicted that he's going to have a breakthrough season in the Serie A and the Champions League, and it didn't feel like a very difficult prediction to make if you followed him and you see what the quality he has and where he is in his career. He's an absolute joy to watch. He really is. The way that when he gets the ball, again, that excitement you feel when certain players get the ball, you feel something's going to happen. You feel that every time Kenan Yildiz gets the ball, and it's so nice to see that after the Ronaldo Messi era, we already have these youngsters who make us excited. We have the Lamine Yamals, we have Kenan Yildiz, we have Arda Güler to a much lesser extent because he's yet to fully show what he's further. He's not as further in his career as far in his career as Kenan Yildiz is. But there's so many of these youngsters that are just so wonderful to watch, and it's truly wonderful to see them. And then you got Kylian Mbappe on top of that as well. So it's nice to see that there is still there are these mega stars after the Messi Ronaldo era, which was a very, very special era in football. But look, what I do want to say is, I can't remember when it was, but we spoke about this, that the number 10 role is the next role to be evolved in modern football, in the sense that the Fantazista's dead because you have to press and you have to move and all that. But Kenan Yildiz represents this updated version of that role, meaning a central player. And I remember saying this, and we were discussing this, that I think that's the next step in football, is that the number 10 role starts to evolve, because every other position, the wide player, the goalkeeper, the defender, all of those have evolved to being ball playing and high intensity, high pressing roles, except for that number 10. And that's why a lot of players like Dybala there's no room for them, right? Well, Kenan Yildiz is the new kind of number 10 that is very dynamic, can be used in the press. He's not a passenger on the pitch, but he's very active in both phases of play, and he can do it centrally as well. Create, he can score, and that's the next evolution of that role. And Kenan Yildiz is kind of the one that I think embodies that the best, to be perfectly honest. And it's very interesting to see if we have any more of these number 10s coming up, because he really works in this system. Okay, Juventus are a mess defensively right now, and Igor Tudor is not happy about that at all, as he shouldn't be. But there is this aspect of this that it makes Juventus really exciting to watch, and that is, it's a young Juventus, it's an up-and-coming Juventus, and it's a Juve that scores late, important goals late. That is the hallmark of a big team, a great team, that scores late, turns games on its head really late. And they've done that now 2 games in a row. So it's, it was a very interesting game for many reasons.
Yeah,
and,
I think
of course, we have to talk about Dusan Vlahovic. Like,
yeah, well, let's talk about Dusan Vlahovic then. He was decisive off the bench. He scored 2. He got the assist for the Lloyd Kelly equaliser, and the question now is really, should he be starting ahead of Jonathan David, who was very disappointing in this game, and Luis Openda? Is he the first on in the ranking of those 3 strikers now, Vlahovic?
I think without a doubt. The question is, how don't you start Dusan Vlahovic after the start of the season he's had? I think he was outstanding in the minutes he got against Dortmund, and I think he's been really good this season so far. I think he's your most informed striker, and he continues to play like he's got a point to prove. How do you not start Dusan Vlahovic, for me?
No, I think so. I think he said this before, but he just looks mentally so much more in the zone this season from a number of different aspects. He looks hungrier, he wants it, but he also seems calmer and cooler. The pressure doesn't seem to be getting to him. In fact, he seems to relish the pressure, that is the sign of, in any field, people that bring their best out when the pressure is on, they're the people that are the most successful. Those that crumble under the pressure, can't handle the pressure, they're the people that you say, well, they don't have the levels to be one of the best. And Vlahovic, that has been an issue in addition to his technicals. It's something that we used to see a lot in the recent seasons, that if he started the first 10 minutes bad of a game, he would never, that was it. His head was gone and he would never recover. This season, it seems to be like he seems to really relish the occasions. And he came off and he became the leader on the pitch. He was a leader in this game. So yeah, I mean, it's positive. Maybe if he keeps on going like this, maybe the next summer, whoever it is maybe you'll get that salary. maybe you can keep this ridiculously high salary if he continues like this.
No, but seriously, I was thinking, if he continues like this and he continues to score 25 goals for Juve, and he's this decisive, Juve would be insane not to keep him.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll have to see if he can keep it up.
Yeah, that's the big question. But no, for me, I think you got to give credit where credit is due. I think we're seeing a much more mature Dusan Vlahovic, much more ready Dusan Vlahovic, and that is a very good positive thing for Juve.
Let's talk about negatives, right? We spoke about already about I did about just how awful defensively Juventus were. And I don't want to repeat that. 7 goals in 2 games. That speaks for itself. I want to narrow it down more to Di Gregorio now. Obviously, Inter, there's been a big debate over Jan Sommer, the goals that he let in against Juventus. Should he be dropped? Di Gregorio is now some questions are starting to be asked of him in the same way. He was really bad in this game. And the goal that he conceded for the Couto goal, the 3rd Dortmund goal, was a huge error. Shot from outside the area at his near post. He was right there as well. Horrendous error on the same level as probably the Sommer one that was let in for Yadiz's goal. I put it on the same level as that. Really bad goal. But my concern also with Di Gregorio is this. He's conceded 5 goals from outside the area in 2 games. If a goalkeeper at any level is letting in 5 goals from outside the area in 2 games, you have to start asking questions about your goalkeeper, because generally, as a basic rule, I think that top goalkeepers don't get beaten from outside the area that much. Yes, you can look at the team. Yes, you can look at Juventus not putting pressure on the ball. That's all true. But should we be a little bit worried about just how good Di Gregorio is if he is letting in all these goals from outside the area?
Yes, we should. I think it's time to maybe bench him for a game when you have someone as high quality as Mattia Perin on the bench and you've got that luxury. I think it's time to do that. Not because I think that Di Gregorio is, not good enough, or he's this, that, or the other. I think he's out of form. I think it's clear he's out of form, and his confidence is not at it where it should be. And maybe Juventus, benching him for a couple of games and giving him time to do that work on the training ground and finding his groove again is the move forward. And when you have someone as high quality as Perin on the bench, why not do that? You've got that luxury. You've got him as an option, then use it. Is my perspective. I don't think it's anything. It doesn't need to be any deeper than that, really. The way I see it, players are in and out of form. Sometimes that happens to a goalkeeper. I do think, however, as a side note, it's hilarious that his idol is Samir Handanovic, and he concedes goals from outside the box, which is,
yeah.
I mean, that is just chef's kiss irony, sarcasm right there.
You used Samir Handanovic, yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah. Just the final thing I want to ask, right? I want to talk about Lloyd Kelly, or Lord Kelly, as I call him. And I saw a few angry comments in the post-match reaction that people were getting offended that I call him Lord Kelly. I mean, come on, have a sense of humour, guys. I mean, seriously, it really isn't that deep. I mean, I thought being a lord usually used to be a good thing. But anyway,
yeah, but you didn't mean it like a good thing. You were going like, stop that. Don't try to go be your way out of this. You were taking the piss out of him. You were every right to take the piss out of him. This is something. Look, he scored 2 important goals. There's no doubt about that. But you cannot sit here and tell me that defensively he's not a liability. My Christ in heaven, look at him play. Like let's have some little bit of intellectual honesty here. He's good going forward. There's no doubt about that. There are issues defensively, and there's margin of improvement, to put it mildly.
Yeah, but I mean, that's part of it, and that's what makes me ask the question. Like, Lord Kelly is becoming a bit of a cult hero at Juventus. You get these players in football that they're not the best. They're probably not even rated at all by the fans of their club, and for a while they're probably disliked and mocked, as Kelly has been. After he signed in January. So many Juventus fans asking the question, what the hell are Juventus doing paying over 20 million for this guy? Especially after you sold Dean Huijsen for less money. But now he's becoming a bit of a cult hero because, he scored against Inter. He scored against the equaliser against Borussia Dortmund in this crazy game. And it's becoming almost like, like Divock Origi scoring in the Champions League semi-final and final for Liverpool, like this figure of fun scoring, and actually becoming kind of quite liked for that reason, and almost like something to, like, for example, in the rivalry between Juventus and Inter, it's become like a stick to beat against Inter fans. Oh, I was there when Lord Kelly scored against Inter and we beat them. Do you know what I mean? Like, every club has these kind of players, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And it's also one of those things that when you're criticized and you take on that criticism and you start to deliver and do positive things, that then commands the respect of people as well. And Kelly has been very criticized, and now he scored twice, 2 games in a row in 2 very important games, where Juventus have won 1 and drawn 1. That's how you give your reply to criticism. That's how you handle criticisms. You don't go on social media and put on clown emojis, and you don't, that's just, or you make a hype video for 30. You pay your social media manager to do a hype video for finishing 4th. Like stuff like that. That's not how you react. You react by, you just, you actually use the criticism as fuel to fire your belly and motivate you to do better. I think that's how you should do it. And it's one thing if someone's abusing you, that's different. Then you defend yourself. But criticism of a performance is part and parcel of life. Everyone gets criticized for their actions. And if that criticism is valid, take that on board and improve. And I think he's done that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, people need to remember sometimes when I'm critical of Juventus players, and sometimes, and if I mock it, sometimes that's our style. We like to mock a little bit.
We have a bit of fun.
We have a bit of fun, a bit of banter. We don't mean it in a horrible way when I call him Lord Kelly. It's just a bit of play of words. It's a bit of fun, and it's because people forget, and it's the same for you. I was a kid in the 90s when Serie A was the best league in the world, and when Juventus for about 3 years were the best team in the world for a few years under Marcello Lippi in his first spell. I have really high standards. Okay, you can criticize me for that if you want. And when I see players, and this, again, this is an issue with
this is true of Weston McKennie as well.
When I see players like Weston McKennie, Lloyd Kelly, Gatti, these kind of level players, they wouldn't even get close to even the bench for Juventus in the 1990s. And so I have high standards, and
they would start for a Perugia maybe in the 90s,
if that.
If
exactly,
even that. Yeah.
If that. So
again, I always say, is it 91 or 92 where the Serie B top goal scorer? Look at the chart of the Serie B of 9. That was Serie B.
Yeah,
it was
Christian Vieri,
Inzaghi, Vieri, Batistuta. That was the level, and so that was Serie B.
No, exactly.
So, Bierhoff,
yeah. Anyway, is there anything else you wanted to say about Juventus before we move on?
Igor Tudor. I really, really like the energy and positivity that he's brought into this Juve side. The fans have been miserable, the club has been miserable, everything's been horrible, but he's a breath of fresh air, and he's brought positivity into this Juve. I know he's unhappy about the goals conceded. I think he'll fix that when time needs. In time he'll be able to address that. But Igor Tudor, I think, just more and more and more is showing that he was the right appointment and the right decision to continue with him. I think he understands Juventità. He understands what it is to be at Juve and win at Juve, but he's also a positive influence, I think.
Yeah, from a mental point of view, character point of view, mentality, he's brought that back to Juve. There's no doubt about that. But as I said, and I don't want to repeat myself, as I said in the reaction pod, and if you watch this game, and if you watch the game against Inter as well, this is a Juventus team that is very flawed, and is a team that on paper, like Napoli, they're not even close to Napoli, and in the Champions League, it's a team that can't go deep in the Champions League. They're just not good enough, and I'm not blaming Tudor that. I'm saying that's just on the players. They're not good enough. The defense is not strong enough. That's why they've conceded 7 goals. The midfield is not strong enough. It's all on Thuram, who didn't actually have a very good game in this game either, by the way. And so they're just not strong enough, this Juventus team. But they've got other qualities that Tudor's brought to them, which you've just described, and that is that can take them that can take them so far. But it can only take you so far, because in the end of the day, if you haven't got the quality, you haven't got the team, the squad, the depth. They looked exhausted as well in this game. That's going to start taking its toll. Bremer couldn't even run for the last 30 minutes in this game. He was on the office, he was shattered. So but the other positive also, just quickly, is Zegrova come on and immediately looked sharp, even though he's been out for so long. I think he's going to be, and Conceição still got to come back. So there is, offensively, there are attacking weapons there.
Juventus have firepower up front. There's no doubt about it. Between those you mentioned, plus Openda, David, Vlahovic, there's firepower up front. The question marks, and I think defensively, they don't have the best defenders except for Bremer, but they have enough bodies to make it work. My question is still, I think the key is midfield, and I think that needs to be addressed. I think except for Locatelli and Thuram, there's not really that much quality in that midfield, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. The offense, that they can turn around games, rescue games like they have in the last 2 matches, because they've got that firepower in attack, and because of the kind of the character that has been instilled into them by Tudor. So I think that's the positives that they need to take. That they've got, they need to try and make use of the weapons that they have, and just try and limit the clear weaknesses that they have in the team, which is, I think, is going to stop them being able to really challenge to win that Scudetto and certainly to go deep in the Champions League. Serie A. Let's move to the Serie A match day 4 this weekend. We'll go through all the fixtures, but we're going to start off firstly with the big game, which is the Rome derby, the Derby della Capitale between Lazio and Roma on Sunday. It's the early kickoff, 12:30 CET at the Stadio Olimpico. So let's talk first of all. We'll go through the team news. I'll run through the team news and the probable 11s first. So for Lazio, doubts over Castellanos, Rovella, who both picked up injuries in match day 3. So we have to see how they recover in the coming days. We're recording this on Thursday. Lazzari, Patrick, and Vecino. We have to see if they're fit enough to start after recovering from their injuries. And as for Roma, we know that Leon Bailey is still out. He'll be back probably next match day 5. And Dybala is out. He got injured and came off at half time in the defeat at the weekend to Torino. And he probably is going to miss at least a couple of match days in Serie A. So those two are out. As for probable 11s, so Lazio 4-3-3. We're looking at Provedel in goal, Maruzic, Gila, Romagnoli, and Nuno Tavares in defence. In midfield, it'll be Guendouzi, Dele Bashiru, and assuming Ravella's not fit, it'll probably be Cataldi. And then up front, Zaccagni will definitely be on the left. And then if Castellanos is not fit, it'll be Boulaïdia. And then Cancellieri has been kind of winning the nod over Isaacson so far. So you'd probably expect Cancellieri, but there'll be a potential ballottaggio there as well. As for Roma, 3-4-2-1. Svila in goal. It'll be the usual back three of Hermoso, Mancini, and Ndika. Then in midfield, centre midfield, we're going to have Cristante and Kone, I think. And then at wing backs, probably Angelino, a left wing back. It seems like Wrench is the favourite, a right wing back at the moment. We'll see. And then it will be Soulé for sure as one of the two behind the one. El Shaarawy seems to be the one that's been predicted to start alongside him, but obviously there are other options, Pizzilli, for example, and Baldanzi. And then up front, I would expect Ferguson to come back to the starting 11 for this game after he didn't play in the last game. And the form is Roma have 6 points from 3 games, that won their first 2, then they lost to Torino. And Lazio, difficult start to the season, lost to Como, then won, and then lost again at the weekend against, who did Lazio lose to? Who did Lazio lose to this past weekend?
Oh God,
they lost 1-0, didn't they?
Yeah, wasn't it? No. No.
Sassuolo. Yes, Sassuolo. It was Sassuolo. Yeah. So what do you mean? I think this is a hard game to call, this one.
I think it's very hard to call because of the very specific situations that these two teams are in. Gasperini ball is still not fully ingrained at Roma. We saw, they've still got some struggles to break teams down. In the final third, we saw that on the weekend against Torino. They are solid defensively for sure. And then you have on the opposite side, you have a Lazio that is just, it looks, there's not a lot of positivity and buzz around them. But at the same time, look, this is the derby, and this is an opportunity for Sarri and Lazio to breathe some much needed energy into this season and into this squad and into the atmosphere around Lazio. Look, if they win this derby, then that would be a huge scalp for them, not being able to sign up, not being able to do anything this summer. If they are able to win this match, they're able to take a famous win over their bitterest rivals. That would just breathe so much energy and air into their lungs, and it could send them on a little bit of a run in terms of positivity. So it's an opportunity more than anything. I think that's how Lazio should view it. For Roma, the same is true there. They're in the beginning of the Gasperini era. Maybe the buzz has fizzled out a little bit after that loss to Torino, but equally, it's an opportunity to do something interesting against your bitter rivals and get a scalp and get one over them early on in the season, and then ride the wave based on that. So I think it's one of those things when, from a mental point of view, going into this, I think both teams will look at this and be like, well, there's an opportunity here to do something, because we're not in our ideal state. We're not where we want to be for various different reasons, of course. But I hope to see fantastic tifos. I hope to see the Rome derby atmosphere. I think it's being played at noon. I think it's the early fixture.
Yeah.
They're doing that because of safety reasons.
12:30 Italian time.
Yeah, they're doing that. It's the classic Liverpool Manchester United that was always played at like early in the morning because people couldn't get rat-assed or whatever. And
that's the reason. I was going to say that's the reason for the Liverpool Man United, because the people just get pissed before they just
and start fighting. And that's kind of the reason they're doing the derby here as well. I mean, because of all the trouble that's been around the derby, they don't want to play them on evening games, so they want to play them early because Italians are notoriously slow in the morning. And so they were hoping that they don't get into fights. Oh dear. But yeah, that's where we are. So I mean, it's an interesting one. I remember Milan. I remember a Milan derby being played at that, and that was the 2-2 derby with Deulofeu, I think, scored, and Icardi scored his first derby goal. Candreva scored a goal. It was an exciting game.
And that was a banter era derby.
Yeah, it was a banter era derby, but it was a lunch match, as the Italians call it. I love when Italians pronounce English terms. It was a lunch match derby, and this is going to also be
you
a
just
lunch.
Sound like Bruno Pizzo every single time.
Sorry.
You sound like Bruno Pizzo when you say English words in an Italian accent. Schilacci. Yeah. So yeah, no. I agree. I can't call this game. I mean, the odds reflect that. Lazio 9-5, Roma 13-8, draw 2-1. So it tells you that, well, Roma slight favourites, but very little in it at all. So it's hard. It's hard to call.
I think a draw is probably, like you said. I think that's probably the fair. Like that's
my prediction. I'm predicting a 1-1 draw. I can't really separate. But derbies are derbies, and they're impossible to predict. And often the team that's in form are the team that loses. In this case, neither are really in form. Both coming off losses. So I think draw sounds like the.
Yeah, I think a 2-2 draw. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw. I think there's goals in this, and I think both teams will fancy their chances. And I think Sule will score. I think Cristante will score.
Ooh.
And I expect Zaccagni to score twice for Lazio. Okay. So I think 2-2.
Interesting. I'm going to go for a Ferguson goal. Get his Roma account on. Yeah.
Open his account, as it were.
Okay, the rest of the Serie A fixtures. Lecce Cagliari on Friday night, which I'm sure is the game you're looking forward to the most.
Obviously, the highlight of the weekend. What are you on about?
Bologna, Genoa, Verona, Juventus, Udinese, Milan on Saturday. Then, of course, the Rome derby early on Sunday. Cremonese, Parma, Torino, Atalanta, Fiorentina, Como, Inter, Sassuolo. And then on Monday, Napoli against Pisa. So the other game I'm looking forward to this weekend is Udinese.
Obviously, Cremonese, Parma.
Obviously. But Udinese against Milan I'm looking forward to, because Udinese have started the season really well. They got 7 points. But Milan, I've been pretty impressed. I know they lost to Cremonese, but what I like from Milan is just taking football down to basic maths of how many chances you create and how many you concede in. And Milan have been pretty good in that respect so far. And if they continue doing that, I think they're going to keep on picking points up, especially with Modric playing the way that he is, which is just unbelievable. But Udinese showed against Inter when they beat them, that they are going to give problems to it, I think, to a lot of big teams. I think they've got two monsters in defence in Sule and Christensen, who are going to defend their box really well. And Udinese, I don't know, they just seem to pick up these new players. Kenan Davis looking like he's really coming on. So yeah, I think I'm really looking forward to that game. I want to see.
Me too. I think it's an interesting. It's going to be interesting to see, for the reasons you outlined, how Milan and Allegri take on Udinese. Udinese are a tricky side. I think Costa Runjaic has shown more than proven his worth in the Serie A, in the sense of being able to, tactically match these teams. It's a very interesting. It's a very interesting tie. That's a very, very tricky place to go. It's a trap game especially for the Milan teams. To go to Udine. So yeah, I agree with you there. I also have to, I'm sorry, like Cremonese Parma, Vadi Pardi in Cremona, and Davide Nicola, and if they can win, like, I mean, it's, and stay at the top of the Serie A, like, come on, Cremonese Scudetto 26, let's go. And of course, Torino Atalanta, Ivan Juric against Baroni. Torino Juric coming back to his old stomping grounds. That's going to be a very interesting tactical battle as well. Fiorentina Como, I think, has the potential to be a very high scoring game.
A lot of goals, yeah.
Yeah, and so that'll be interesting. And then Napoli, Pisa, and Inter Sassuolo, Inter, against their eternal bogey team Sassuolo with Mimmo Berardi at the San Siro. It's like,
oh yeah,
it's going to be interesting. And Napoli should see off Pisa without much fuss. As we're recording this, they haven't played Manchester City yet, which I'm really looking forward to.
I am as well, yeah. And Pisa at home is a good fixture after you're going to have a really tough game against Man City, traveling to Manchester, coming back. That's the kind of where you say, yeah, the fixture list was good to us there. Do you know what I mean? Because you play Manchester City away, and then you go in, say they were to then go into a really tough game away from home. That's where you drop points. Or even, doesn't even necessarily have to be a tough team. It could be a team like Udinese away, or a team like, do you know what I mean? A Torino away. And you're thinking all of a sudden, you could drop points there. So, nearly knocked my light off. My light, which does nothing at all. Right, yeah. So that's the fixtures. I just want to finish off on one note. Did you see Diego Simeone fighting the Liverpool fans? Oh, so good, so good. I love him. Oh, it was brilliant.
Cholo is he's the shithousery that, like, he's such a, like, that was a good game, by the way.
I have to be honest though. Did you see the fan that put his face, like, was like abusing him? Let me send you the picture, because you'll probably describe this much better than I will. Where is it? Right. Look at this face. In fact, shall I hold it up to the screen so everybody can see it? Okay.
Let me see.
Look at this guy's face.
Oh my God.
Look at that.
Jesus
Just look at that face.
Christ.
Oh God, I hope there's nothing dodgy on my photos, but like, look at that face there. I mean, what would you do if someone put someone like that in your face? How would you react? I'm now worried that people are going to see my photos, and I'm worried there's going to be something.
Don't worry. Calm.
Oh no, it's okay. They're just bets and cake shop orders, so it's all right. nothing on there.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that guy looks like he was at the protest in London on Saturday. Give us back our penalties.
Bring back our penalties. No, but that was but I mean, to be fair, to wind someone up like that that face is a wind up in and of itself, much less when he's agitated and happy. And then Simeone took the bite as well. It's hilarious. It's shithousery. It's Cholo Simeone, and this is why I would love to see him.
Do you remember when he did with Ronaldo, where he went?
Yeah, I mean, that is just him in a nutshell.
That was brilliant.
Just him in a nutshell, isn't it? Doesn't give a shit. Doesn't give a shit.
Right. Oh, and finally, Jose Mourinho is going to Benfica, so you're not going to get him.
Wasn't it exactly on the day that when he left?
25 years, I think. Yeah.
On the day on the day when he was appointed at Benfica, or on the day when he left Benfica, or something, because he's been there before. People forget that.
Yeah. So, but my point is that's it. If Kivu loses his job, you're not going to get Mourinho. Yeah. Mourinho's out of the frame now.
I think he's forever now out of the frame. He's never going to be at Inter. The return is dead now. The only option if Kivu loses his job is if Mancini, or I'm hearing the reports about Palladino made me want to commit ritual Japanese suicide. Like, literally just suck the life will out of my nose by reading that. It's just look, it is what it is. But hopefully Kivu proves me wrong and proves everyone wrong and keeps his job and Inter in the top 4. We're doing inshallah prayers, hopes and prayers. FC inshallah. That's us.
I love it. Okay, right. Let's leave it at that. So we'll be back on Monday for a review of the weekend, and then we'll have more content for you next week and next week as well. Excuse me. Thanks everybody for listening. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the Man City Napoli game. Enjoy the Serie A weekend, the Rome derby, and we'll see you next week. Ciao, ciao.